This is Joe Pugh for IFLTV. Delighted to be joined over Zoom. Happy Monday, Gareth. How are
Happy
you?
Monday, baby. It's nearly dark. 3 4 just after 4 p.m. and the night sky is beginning to emerge on us. But on Friday, when all those planets align with the moon, I think it's 5 or 6 planets aligned on Friday night, Saturday morning. The Trump inauguration tonight. Lots going on. There's a lot of things aligning at the moment, rather like matchups in boxing.
I like that. I like that, Gareth. Before we talk about a lot, actually, of news stories breaking out through the back end of last week. HE going on Talk Sport. Many things occurring from the last time we spoke. Did you see Darren Till's performance, his Misfits debut this week? I was up in Manchester. Great event. I know you have been to Misfits events, you have covered them in the past, and I know obviously you've covered Darren Till's UFC career. So yeah, what did you make of his debut against Anthony Taylor?
Well, it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to win because they were streets apart in terms of ability. Darren's a very fine striker, always was in MMA. It was his principal, well, not principal, but it was his overriding skill as an elite MMA fighter through all the different organizations he fought in, notably in the UFC. Yeah, I thought he was good. I thought he was consistent, composed, took his time. I thought Taylor ran a bit more than he held. Huge weight, kind of size difference, and that left uppercut. Of course, I'd said it before the fight was always going to be a very good punch for him against the smaller man who crouches down a lot. But I thought he composed himself well, handled himself well. I thought his post fight interviews were very good. It was. I thought we saw a really um, a very touching side of Darren Till when he's looking back on himself being a crazy fucking lunatic in the ring. He's got those piercing, crazy eyes. No, he was radiating happiness afterwards, wasn't he? And it looked like a decent event. I was obviously in the studio at Talk Sport doing a live show, but I had it on my phone while we were broadcasting, and we did make mention of it.
Yeah, look, also that night, KSI's fight got announced with Wayne Bridge. In the past hour, Wayne Bridge has pulled out of that fight. Um, I've just briefly spoke to Darren Till's advisor, Lee Eaton, and he said, look, let's make the fight 29th of March, Darren Till versus KSI. As far as crossover boxing goes, that's a big fight. You'd like to see that?
Um, yeah, yeah, I think that'll be. Is that what they were planning to do all along? Well, why did Wayne Bridge take that personal grief in the ring and then pull out? I don't really understand that. He went all the way there, got insulted in a horrible way, in a quite a distasteful way. I hope you weren't cheering. Look at that grin on your face. I hope you weren't cheering.
I actually missed it. I was backstage. I didn't
How
even know
were
it
you?
happened until I
I
saw it
mean,
on.
I mean that was most tasteless part of the whole escapade for me. Um, and I'm surprised Wayne didn't knock him out there and then. But John Terry and all that stuff that was dragged up. Although he wasn't mentioned by name, wasn't he? I think it was a tasteless episode. Anyway, I'm very surprised he's pulled out because I thought that was the whole selling point of it. But Darren Till, KSI, well, that's what Darren Till's after. It suits Darren Till, but we'll have to see whether KSI believes that's the guy for him. I think the guy for KSI is Conor McGregor. I think that's the fight he should take. Much as I think Jake Paul should fight Conor McGregor, even though I've seen loads of pictures today of Conor McGregor with Jake Paul and Logan Paul at the Trump inauguration. Have you seen those?
I haven't yet.
They're
No.
all celebrating in Washington, D.C. Um, Leah McCourt, the MMA fighter from Northern Ireland. Lots. The mother of the Paul brothers is there. There's a lot of people. I think Dana White will be at the inauguration. Wouldn't surprise me if Mike Tyson's there as well. But a lot of people invited to the Trump inauguration later on tonight. Yeah, it was a very interesting escapade up there in Manchester on Saturday night. It looked an enjoyable event.
Who would you match against Darren Till then, if not KSI?
I don't know. It's not the business I'm in. I don't care.
Fair enough. Let's talk about some traditional boxing then, Gareth. I want to pick up on a few things that you discussed with Adam Catterall on your show on Saturday night. First one of those being you taking a little bit of issue with Simon Jordan calling Tyson Fury and also ran.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, people think I'm being a Fury fanboy. I mean, I think what was played out was an argument between Frank Warren and Simon Jordan last week, where they were really, it was a very disjointed, it was like a Harold Pinter play, where they were both talking about different things almost. And every time one spoke and the other spoke, they weren't aligning on what they were talking about. I think my criticism of the Cape Crusader is this, you know, that you look at other eras, Frazier, Foreman, Holmes, Ali, they all fought each other, and it didn't necessarily have to be for the world title belts or let's say even Spinks you can throw into that argument. They were all great heavyweight fights. They weren't considered also Rens, they were, which is the expression he used. They were considered great heavyweights who were going to have great fights with each other, and um, they, I think in boxing, I think you can be critiqued very easily, and I'm critiquing him, I suppose, for just being. You're not talking about football teams and football where there's no access to them. Players are put up occasionally for interviews. They're behind these very rich walls that they play behind. Boxers, as you know, we have we have major access to boxers on every card. They're not protected from dozens and dozens of interviews. So we, I mean, my rule, as you know, is always that I will write and say what I'll say to someone's face. And that's how I think you keep the balance of what you can project on a radio show and what you can actually say in person. And I don't think they're also Rens. I do agree that Alexander Usyk is now at the moment the number one of the era and may stay that way. But Anthony Joshua against Tyson Fury is an enormous all British fight. And to dismiss them as also Rens, I think is the wrong words, the wrong semantic equation for two brilliant heavyweights who've done so much for British boxing and heavyweight boxing over the last decade.
yeah, what do you think of Simon's attitude towards that fight overall? Because whilst calling them also Rans, and I think he's also said it's the battle of the losers. Which, if you look at it on paper, yes, they've both lost to Alexander Usyk twice. But as you said there, and you made your point, when you look at Ali, Fraser, Foreman, they
Frazier,
fight each other.
Foreman, yeah, there's so many, Norton, all the guys. I mean, the they might be they might have just lost, and Fury's obviously lost twice closely to Usyk, and Joshua had a fairly catastrophic loss to Daniel Dubois. But the era isn't done yet. No, it's a very sharp-tongued business that he's in. So, and that's his shtick. That's what he's like. But I don't agree with it. I don't agree. I just don't agree with um, being so negative about them. It's still a fantastic fight. And to not have it would be a real travesty for British boxing. It's a bit like, I think Simon has said that he has no interest at all in Conor Benn and Chris Eubank. Obviously, he and I both belong to the generation where, of their fathers, where they were extraordinary fighters and athletes, and that they were very special. And there's two fights were very special. And had it not been for the fathers, we wouldn't be getting these sons fighting right now, because it's a bloodline grudge extension lineage fight, if you like. But I still think it's intriguing now. up at 160. I'm worried about the weight rehydration clause for Eubank Jr. Um, I think what just being able to put on £10 is a little unfair to him. I think the fact that it's been 2.5 years since they were originally going to fight or originally signed to fight is swings it more to the side of Conor Benn if you want to make a case for Conor Benn. I think he'll be dangerous early, Conor. But I still think it's a fight that will cross over. I still think it's a fantastic fight. And I still think it's good for British boxing.
Yeah, look, with the rehydration clause, that was my next point actually. A question of is it fair? Eddie Hearn said it's a welterweight moving up, and that's why it's £10. Realistically, do you think we was ever going to get the fight if there wasn't a rehydration clause in place?
I think realistically we would have.
Okay.
And I think realistically we should. I mean, what are they going to do to when Terence Crawford and Saul Canelo Alvarez fight? One guy's coming up from light middleweight now to super middle. Are they going to inhibit the weight of Canelo Alvarez 24 hours after he weighs in? I hope not. I think he should be able to be what he is. I think there is a distinct disadvantage against, in spite of the fact Conor Benn's coming up, it's the weight effect on Chris Eubank that I'm worried about for him at the age of 35. And the fact that Benn is a terror in there, even though we don't know he hasn't proven yet whether he's truly world class or not. That will come in the next 12, 15 months, or maybe even in this fight, which we believe is April the 26th at Spurs. And look how it's grown, by the way, 3 times the size it was. I think it was an O2 Arena sellout of 20,000 before. It wouldn't surprise me if it sold out Tottenham Hotspur. Got the nostalgia age folk, the young folk, the casuals, the people on a night out, taking their girlfriends or their wives. I think it'll be an amazing occasion. I hope we're there for Talk Sport. I'll certainly be there for the Telegraph and William Hill.
Also, we had Daniel Dubois on your show. Daniel said that
What
he
fun he was, eh?
exactly, and I feel like that's a whole other conversation we could have about Daniel Dubois becoming fun and the way he's maturing into an engaging person to talk to, which I'm sure you've grasped
Yeah.
over the past 18 months. But he said that he wants to fight the Joshua Fury winner. And when we talk about that fight at the moment, Tyson Fury is retired. Who knows whether we will see that fight? But it feels like Daniel Dubois, should he come through Joseph Parker, is looking for some massive fights, whether it be the winner of that Alexander Usyk rematch, and he will get those.
You can interpret where Tyson Fury is at the moment, either with a pinch of salt, because he's done it 3 times prior to this. You can interpret it as him beginning a negotiation process to get to haul him back in with a better and bigger payday. You can take it as him doing. You can take it the perception is reality, and he's retired right now, but that may change in the next few weeks. But it does leave Anthony Joshua in a difficult situation. I don't think he's going to go straight into a fight with Daniel Dubois if he beats Joseph Parker. If he beats Joseph Parker, I do see him as the favourite in that. But I think, there's a lot hanging on. If Daniel Dubois is talking about fighting Anthony Joshua later in the year, there's a lot hanging on whether Joshua concentrates on Tyson Fury, which is supposedly going to be a summer fight, most likely at Wembley Stadium or Spurs. They seem to be the 2 big stadiums that are going on right now in London. Maybe we could do it at Old Trafford. That would be nice as well. Be nice to have a big fight in the north. But I think the difficulty for Daniel Dubois is seeing. Well, there's no difficulty for him. He's facing Joseph Parker. But after that, maybe he's chasing Alexander Usyk for, an undisputed title fight again. I don't know whether Usyk fancies Dubois again in another fight, but the year stretches out long, wide, and handsome as far as I'm concerned. Loads going on in the heavyweight division. Zhili Zhang and Agit Kabayel, the outcome of that could determine a few things, like Bakoli and Zhang at the Bird's Nest in Beijing, or a fight in Shanghai. Agit Kabayel challenging someone for a title. The Dubois and Parker outcome means an awful lot. There's Jaya Pataya and Zerdo Ramirez. What happens to Jaya Pataya after that if he becomes undisputed? The heavyweight division's fascinated. Will Moses Atam and Justice Hooney meet this year? Will both of them be interim champions by the end of the year? How long will Usyk go on? Will we see the end of Usyk, Fury, Joshua, Wilder, White, Chisora by the end of this year? Big Zhang won't, by the way. He's told me he's carrying on. Told me he's 42 this year. He's told me last week that he might even carry on and become an older world heavyweight champion than George Foreman at 46 years of age. But it's an amazing year. We know what the heavyweight division is now. Right there, I didn't really mention Fabio Wardley. I think that's about it. I mean, I don't think there's many names I've missed out there, is there?
I think you've just about covered everyone. And funny enough, you mentioned Fabio Wardley. I was going to ask you about him. A big fight being eyed up, potentially Ipswich. Obviously, Ipswich fan from there. Logically, where is the next move for Fabio Wardley? Because he's coming off an amazing knockout that really put an exclamation mark. It feels on the end of his domestic run, and now he moves in to that fringe world title run. Who is the fighter that may bridge that gap to the fighters that you just spoke about there?
Well, I didn't mention Philip Hrgovic. He's a potential opponent. Fabio Wardley could fight the winner of Zhang and Agit Kabayel, couldn't he? I mean, Fabio is just on the cusp of being in a group that is. I think he's in the top 10. I don't think there's much doubt about that. I think he's just inside the top 10. Justice Hooney says he'd fight everybody. Last week, Francis Warren told me that Moses would virtually fight everyone apart from the top 5 or 6. So, man, we're in for some great fights. I'm telling you, we're in for some great fights the next 24 months. Forget about also rans or losers, or there's no losers right now. They're all winners in that heavyweight division because the money's good, the fights are good, the division's riding high. It's a brilliant time for boxing. So whoever's watching this, don't anyone tell you that the division is not on fire at the moment. This is the hottest heavyweight division in terms of matchups and fights that we've seen since Lewis and Holyfield and Mike Tyson, because it really is hot now, because we're going to see all those guys fight each other. We may see a raft of guys leave, but we've got plenty of guys to fill their places.
Sticking with the heavyweight division, but moving down slightly down the levels, you spoke to Dave Allen on Saturday night and asked him about a potential rematch with Johnny Fisher. He remained quite coy about the prospect of that rematch. What did you think of that? And we know, certainly from this channel, your chat with Big John and him taking issues with everything.
But
Um,
what do you think about it?
what do I think about Dave Allen remaining coy?
Yeah,
I'm a little bit confused. I don't know what's
that's
going
how
on.
I
But realistically, the biggest fight for Johnny Fisher and the biggest fight for Dave Allen is both that rematch.
I think. Look, what I was. I mean, I even said this to Dave on Saturday night when he was on our show, and it's got nothing to do with my conversation with Big John. It's got more to do with my conversation with what happened, the kind of controversy and the diaspora of that controversy post December 21st, which is that most people watching it thought Dave nicked the fight by a round or two. Obviously, there's the side issue of Big John not being happy about my commentary and Spencer Oliver's commentary, which is a sideshow to what happened on the night. I haven't managed to speak to Johnny yet. I know you've been out with him, and I think Big John and Johnny are. I think they're in Australia at the moment, so I
Yeah,
haven't bumped into
correct.
them at all. Um, But there's a money fight there for both men, and it might be a big money fight. If they could sell out the O2 Arena, they might earn 300-400 grand each for that fight. Um, when a fight creates that kind of noise like it did in Riyadh, it's best to capitalize. Now, that's what I was pushing. It's got nothing to do with friendships. It's about the fight industry. I was surprised that Dave Allen isn't pushing the rematch because he's not in the middle of his career. He's towards the end of his career. He's not going to go on for years and years and years. And if he is resurgent, make the most out of it. That's what I was trying to suggest. Why aren't you pushing for a headline event? He said, no, it's not going to be next. He was big dogging, actually, in terms of what he was saying over Johnny Fisher by saying, look, I'd wreck his career right now if we stepped in the ring together. I'm not sure about that myself, because I think Johnny showed a resilience and a strength in that fight while he was hurt and would approach it in a different way this time. I think he was a little bit too wide open, got caught in that fifth round, wasn't he? He was caught by two left hooks, coughing left hooks, one to the ear that disturbed his equilibrium. Johnny's got amazing powers of strength and resilience, and we saw that in those last 5-6 rounds. So for me, I was just surprised that Dave Allen isn't chasing that. So God knows what's happening. As they said, they will meet down the line. Maybe Johnny Fisher's going to rebuild a little bit. Maybe they're saving it for a 5v5. Maybe they're saving Johnny for the 5v. I don't mean saving. I don't mean it saving. But they want to make sure that nothing goes awry for Johnny because they want him in the 5v5 Queensberry match room. Because Eddie hasn't got a load of heavyweights, has he? And, they might be able to match, I don't know, let's say Johnny Fisher against David Adeleye in the 5v5 or whoever it might be. So, I was just surprised. I think he should be going for it. That's my view. If I was his manager, I'd be going for it.
Moving on, a fight that you mentioned earlier on in this interview, that reports broke out yesterday that is being finalised and agreed for a fight in September in Las Vegas is Canelo and Crawford. As far as super fights come, it doesn't get much bigger than this. What are your thoughts on the matchup? You spoke about the weight disparity. Is it the right thing for the sport, this fight?
Oh, I think it's enormous. I think it is a super fight. It's a win-lose for Canelo because he wins financially, but he loses legacy in legacy terms. Because he's only lost twice in 65 odd fights, isn't it? 65, 66 fights to a very mature Floyd Mayweather when he was a raw young bull. And he lost to Dimitri Bivol, who is a bigger man at 175 and one of the top pound for pounders. He's probably in the top 6-7 pound for pound right now, Bivol, after the defeat to Beterbiev. He could have put him even higher. Before the defeat, he could have put him higher. And Bivol hit him with fast 1-2s, let combinations go and moved really well. And he was very direct and busier than Canelo. And Canelo couldn't find a way and he ran out of ideas against him. Not strength and vim and vigor and all those things, but ran out of ideas to get inside. Because Bivol is very smart with his footwork, as we know, as he showed against Artur Beterbiev. Probably the most dangerous all-round attacking fighter there is in the world right now. Certainly the heavyweight divisions. Anyway, you could go down the divisions and look at Inoue and Bam Rodriguez, and maybe that's a conversation for another time. But this is a great combo. I'm really enjoying it, by the way. Well done for stimulating that. My feeling is that Terence Crawford has got to up his game in terms of looking at what Bivol and Mayweather did against. Mayweather was just Mayweather. And as I say, Canelo was raw. But I think he's got to take a leaf out of the Bivol book and be active. When I see the silhouettes moving, I could see Terence looking after himself and winning a tight points decision. but I could also see him getting hit harder than he's ever been hit before. Because I think Canelo hits very hard, and people talk very highly of him. People have been in the ring with him. I was speaking to John Ryder the other
I'm
day
right. Yep.
about how clever he is. Callum Smith has said the same. Joe Saunders knows that. Um, you know, Terence. I was around him recently, and not the Ring Magazine Awards. He didn't turn up because he was late. He's missed his flight, but saw him in Dubai, and he's definitely thickened out. So I think he'll be able to take Canelo's blows, but it's a win-win for him because he gets paid really well, and he's the outsider. He's the underdog. He's going up. He's come from lightweight, super middleweight. So he is 38, having said that. So he is at the very end here. Maybe his last fight. But if it's a brilliant fight, they'll probably do it again. It's a massive fight in America. I understand it's September, though some people have reported it's May. I understand they've still got to dot the I's and cross the T's, Joe. But it's a fantastic fight. It's a trade fight. It's an industry fight. It's a casual fans fight. It's two stars colliding. The only fights in the world that match that right now, Beterbiev and Bivol, maybe Opetire and Usyk, maybe Dubois and Usyk if Dubois beats Parker, Fury and Joshua, and Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson. I think they're the only fights in the world that kind of match up to the size of that. And maybe the rematch of Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia because the controversy last time.
Last one, Gareth. You mentioned a few of these fights there, but His Excellency Turki Al Sheikh in the past week has done multiple interviews, with that being with Carl Froch, Talk Sport, and he's outlined many fights that you would like to make. One fight I want to ask you on, a fight that I love, a fight.
How long have I been saying this fight?
I don't know. Go on, Gareth.
How
What do you
long
actually
have I
think
been
I'm going to
saying
say?
Nick Ball and Nouya Inoue? How long have I been saying that?
A long
How long?
time.
Go on. How
A,
long?
a long time, and that's the fight I was going to ask you about. You read my mind. Anui's
No,
fight
no, I
this
didn't read
week.
your mind because it's a fight that's. I remember saying it Spencer Brown, and he was going, "Oh yeah, it's a great idea." Look, all these things filter down. We all share ideas in the industry. You know, we're all insiders in the industry, or a group of us are. It's a fantastic fight stylistically. It's a great featherweight step up for Nouya Inoue. It's a deserving fight for Nick Ball. It puts, if they could do it at Riyadh season, or they could do it at the Superdome, Tokyo Superdome, and get 50,000 people there. We'll all go. We'll all go and have a Japan trip. I've done 2 or 3 events there for the UFC in the past. Haven't done a boxing event there for a long time. Love to go to the Far East and do a big event. Where do you think it should be? For me, put it on in Japan and we'll all travel.
I like it. Put it on in Japan, or we can get Nouya Inoue to Anfield. That'd be
I
another.
don't think you should. I think Nouya Inoue having to step up to featherweight, fourth weight division, fifth weight division.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, no, I think he deserves home territory for that. I think he deserves home territory. I think Nick should have to travel.
I don't disagree. That's just me being selfish. But then again, I would love to
Who's
trip
the A side?
to
Who's the
Japan.
A side?
Inoue. It's got to be Inoue. A multi-weight world champion, a pound for pound
But
king.
not only that, I'm still picking Inui to win, but Ball's got a great opportunity to win to beat an all-time great in that fight. Um, I think we should do it in the land of the rising sun and make it a spectacular event in Tokyo that we all travel to, and the media go en masse from around the world. Make it a super fight over in Japan.
Love it. Gareth, thank you very much for speaking to IFLTV. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we finish?
Yeah, I just want to say, make sure you behave yourself this year, Joe Pugh. Yeah,
Okay. Did I not behave myself last year?
you did, but just make sure you behave yourself in 2025.
I will. I'll echo them
You're
when I.
looking fitter than the last time I saw you as well.
Oh, I don't know about that, Gareth. I don't
You
know.
are looking fitter. You may not be, but you're looking fitter.
Thankfully, people can only see you and not me. People don't want to see my ugly boat race every time we do an interview. Gareth, thank you very much, and I will catch you very soon.
Thank you very much.